Hey, how's it going? I didn't work on the clouds like I said I would and set up the other figures, Skeletor and Papyrus. I wasn't feeling that well yesterday. I was actually really exhausted. I don't understand it. I can't explain it. I was just really tired. Anyway, enough of my sob story. What we're gonna do is I say we in the sense that I'm working on this thing and you're checking it out. So I'm going to bring back the sketch layer that I have of the clouds. And I'm just going to, do I have bones in here? Alright, it is bones. So let's create a clouds layer. There's something that occurs to me is that Clip Studio has something called mask layers. What mask layers allow you to do is take out certain portions, just make you clear certain portions so that they don't overlap one another. It cleans things up and it allows you to keep going without removing pieces of the images that you've already created. Okay, so an example would be that I just added mask layers to Snake Mountain and backgrounds. So the way this works is you have the layer that the image is on, and then you have a mask over it. Now the mask comes from a term that was brought. It's used again in traditional artwork. This time in airbrushing. In airbrushing, there was a clear film called Frisket. You would use it by putting it over the image, and it was used to mask the areas that you didn't want to paint, and you would cut out the areas that you do. So what it essentially does, the mask layer, is just that. It takes away the stuff that you don't want to edit, or it protects the stuff you don't want to edit, and it takes away the stuff that you do want to edit. And the reason why I'm explaining this is because when you add a mask layer, you have to work on the mask layer in order to remove the things that you don't want. Now if you take a look, I've selected the mask layer over on the left. You can see that this mask layer, which is white, is highlighted. And you can use the lasso tool to get rid of it. You can use the eraser tool to get rid of things. And they're gone. Okay, they're not there. But if you flood those areas with ink, they are there. This helps again with the concept of negative space. There are a lot of things that you have to keep in mind when you're trying to get things done. Negative space being one of them. Now clouds, we are going to absolutely add a mask layer because when we work on the inks layer, we're going to get pretty messy and we're going to have to clear out a lot of stuff. So we'll go back to black, make sure we're on our pen, which is Lando Calrissian, and you want to keep in mind the motion of these clouds, which direction they're headed in, and you want to use the concept of anticipated energy, momentum. I forget what it's called. It's part of the stretch and squash technique that you use in animation, where a ball comes down, it squats, and then it stretches as it bounces away. So when you're drawing these clouds, if the clouds are swirling, you want them to be bouncing away. You want them to be moving away from the source and in the direction that you want them to be moving in. So we're going to do this. We're going to drop the opacity on Snake Mountain, go back to clouds, and then we are going to start drawing some clouds, my man. This is a lot of quiet. The reason being is I took a look at some of the videos I've been posting, and some of them were kind of flagged for copyright infringement, and it was because I was playing music in the background. And the ones that I was playing music on was the day that I was listening to Copacabana's Greatest Hits or something like that. It's that old 70s disco music that I was listening to, and somebody didn't like it. I don't know. Okay, now these clouds look pretty cartoony, right? But that's okay. The subject matter that we're working in is cartoony, and we're gonna spice these up here. What Emerald used to say, we're gonna kick it up a notch. Bam! I'd love to sit here and talk and explain a lot of the principles I'm doing and what it is I'm thinking, but I don't know what happened to me. I'm just wiped yesterday. That's where the sketches come in handy. Is when you sketch, you should be relaxed and you should be loose, and you should really not be afraid to try things when you're sketching, because in my opinion, when you sketch, that's when nobody's looking. Nobody is there. Nobody's there to say, oh, you know what you should draw? Or, hey, my cousin can draw. Or, hey, draw me this. Or, you know, that looks weird. Like, bro, this is my sketchbook. This is my notebook. It's me working things out. Me trying to figure things out. Me trying to see what works, what doesn't work. Who knows? You're messing around in your sketchbook. You could find something that really, really works for you. It's a technique that you just create. You're like, wait, how did I just do that? And you recreate it. And, you know, other times it's a lot of failures in order to get to the one thing that you figured you wanted to try and do. Which, with anyone, that's how success happens. You fail a bunch of times so that you can come to where you wanted to be. It's like when you learn how to walk, you fall a whole bunch of times, and then you finally figure out, oh, this is where balance is. This is how I move my legs in order to walk or run or swim. Sometimes as a person, you don't get a sketchbook. You just have to go out and you have to make the mistakes. You have to fall and get hurt. The best part about falling and getting hurt is that you have that adventure, and you have that experience, and you have that pain, and you find out that you don't like the way it feels. So you become a better person. But this is less about drawing now and more about life experience. So let's get back to drawing clouds. You see? Remember I told you about the line weight and how it implies depth and gravity, and you can do the same thing with clouds. Clouds visually don't have a weight, but scientifically they do, because clouds are condensed moisture, and condensed moisture is water, and water has weight, so there's that. It's just that when you normally look up and see clouds, you just see them and they're fluffy looking, you know? So people just assume, based on what they're looking at, that the clouds are soft and fluffy when they're really cold. They're cold and they are made out of moisture. Condensation, if you will. And I'm currently learning that clouds actually have different layers. There's nimbus, cumulo, cumulonimbus, strato, stradivarius. Wait, stradivarius, that's a violin. Stratospheric clouds. Now see, another great thing to working digitally is that some of these lines, when they overlap, they're just not going to look right. So we can pull them out. We can digitally edit them. And we can also do something called a color hold. Now, color hold is a great trick. And I see when you show me some of your sketches, sometimes the line work is black. And you know what? Sometimes that black line work looks better if it's a different color. It's done in animation a lot too, and that, my son, is a trick I am more than willing to show you. You do it with a variation of a mask layer. Okay, it's called a clipping layer. It's called a clipping. Is it a clipping mask? Yeah, it's a clip mask layer. Now, the clip mask layer sits over what you want to have it sit over. Now, let me give you an example, okay? Let's drop out layer 6, which is the clouds. Scroll down here, drop out the... Okay. Now, see how we have the cloud layer selected here? We add another layer, okay? And then we make it into a clipping layer, or a clipping mask layer. That's what that little red sign next to it is. And remember, what I'm showing you here is in Clip Studio Paint. If you're going to use another layer, if you're going to use another, if you're going to use another software, the principles still retain. It's still in Procreate, it's still in Photoshop. It should be in any illustration software you're using that's worth a damn. Now, the principles I'm showing you can translate to those things. I just wouldn't know how to get there. I would just know that they're there. So we turn this layer into a clipping mask, okay? Now what I like to do, because I have friends that work in Photoshop and they all show me by example and have told me that you label your layers. And I always love to label my layers. So this is going to be clouds hold, because we're going to make a line hold, okay? Now, what you want to do is, you want to figure out the best possible color to make these clouds, because they're going to be dead set, they're going to be dropped against, like, they're going to be against like a purpley sky, so we need something that's good, and we need something that's going to pop against it. So what we do is, we go into our color mixer, right, and we find something like that. I'm going to call it like a yellow. Alright? Now, here's where color holds come in really good. Okay, I'm going to show you. You see how that cloud line overlaps? You do something like this. Oh, I was on a chalk pen. You do something like this. Usually you figure out your holds after you do your fills and your textures and your shadows. But I got way ahead of myself and was like, I'm going to show this kid how to do color holds. So you see how that looks animation-like? Ta-da! Animation-like. So, backgrounds, right? Let's do that. Clip. Alright, so that is going to be like this. No, we'll go M. So you see how all that line work just changed? It doesn't look right now because we're working in black, so your mind hasn't adjusted. But once it's all colored and then we start doing color holds, it just adds a whole new layer of professionalism and like a whole new layer of beauty to what you're coloring, and it just blows your mind. You're like, I can't believe I did something like this. How could somebody like me do something like this? And then you realize, oh yeah, I've been sketching. I've been in my workbook. I've been working through these things and discovering these things. I've been paying attention to what my dad says in his videos. You never know. Could be a handful of one thing or the other. Now, go here. There was a brush I had. It was like a dry brush. So we'll go here. Is it India ink? Or did I dump all my brushes into? Let's try this. Okay. Oh, we're on the purple. We don't want the purple. We want the black. You can do one of two things with this. Okay, you can start and then go forward. Or you can go forward and then go back. I prefer the first one because the start point to the ending point usually winds up working a lot better. Let's try that one. Ooh, that's a spicy meatball. Okay. So I guess we got clouds in here, right? We can use those other brushes when it comes time for coloring. So we're gonna bring up Snake Mountain. And we're gonna go over here to the clouds. You know what? Snake Mountain doesn't look like Snake Mountain doesn't really look like it's standing up too much. It looks like it's not really, like I haven't drawn too much. So I just merged Snake Mountain with the backgrounds. So there it is. Saves you time, I guess. The bones are above the background. There's clouds. So we will go to the clouds and we will lower the opacity on the backgrounds. And the reason for this is so that you can see what overlaps better. Okay. For this, we will go to the brush and select the negative stuff because that works just as well. Now the reason why I'm using the pen set to nothing, or the nothing pen, is because it allows me to get in tighter and to be more delicate with my erasing lines than the actual eraser would. Because the actual eraser, it's a tool, you know, it's wonderful, it erases things, but in order to get small and fine lines, it doesn't rely on pressure. It relies on the actual size of the brush. So what you will have to do, if you're using the eraser tool, in order to get small lines, is you will have to drop the brush size. And that just turns into a pain. It's just a pain in the butt when you could just switch over to the brush pen and you could use the Nothing brush. It sounds like I'm doing a commercial for the Nothing brush. But, yeah. You want to run across all your stuff that you're gotten in the foreground. Maybe even help you clean up your clouds when you drew them. It's good stuff, my man. Good stuff. Oh look, little snake's got something on his neck. That's that, and then this goes in here. Now once this is all colored, we're going to do something. We're going to do a few things. We're going to do a lot of things, but this is going to finish up quick real soon. And we are going to work on next characters. So we need to drop the opacity in that, drop the opacity in the clouds, drop the opacity in the bones. You see how this is working out? What we're going to do is we're going to do a papyrus layer. And then we're going to add another layer, and we're going to do a Skeletor layer. How long have I been recording for? Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to upload this. And the next time I video, we will strengthen the sketches for Papyrus and Skeletor, and then we will start inking them. And I hope that you'll be really happy with the results. I'll talk to you soon.